Hi and welcome back to the Quarry Garden, and today I'm down in the very bottom of the quarry. Now this is the lowest point of the Quarry Garden, and that's because this week we've started to work to create a bog garden. Now it's in its very early stages and there's no plants obviously to add at this point, but I just thought I'd show you what we've done so far and also just describe the land down here that we're dealing with. Now on the side that you're looking at now is very much compacted clay with very little soil on the top, and what is there is mainly from all of the leaves falling and forming leaf mould, mainly from all the deciduous trees around here. And it does actually flood at certain times of the year, so it can get very muddy. But over the last week we've had frozen ground, so we have managed to lay a path through the middle. Now obviously we don't have any budget to do any of the work down here in the quarry, so we really have to use what we already have. And I've had stashed away for over 20 years some old paving slabs, which I've used to create this path through the middle of two different types of ground. This side, solid clay. This side is very much clay mixed in with a very boggy ground. It's very wet all year round. So it's ideal to create a bog garden, the ideal circumstances. So the path that we've actually managed to start the path, we haven't turned the soil over or haven't turned the clay over. We've actually left the clay because it's very hard compacted, and we've actually just added on the top sharp sand. And then on top of that we've got a liner to stop the weeds coming through, and then we've laid the paving slabs as best as we could, leveled them out as best as we could on top of the actual liner. And now what I'm going to add either side are stones, and these are obviously all the stones that we're constantly digging out of the ground when we add plants down here. I've actually hosed them down because they were full of mud, because most of them came from where we're adding the path around this area, and I'm going to add them around the sides. And it's just more or less to use the stone that we've got and to make it more of a feature, and I think to make it look pretty as much as I can. And then in between, because I didn't have enough paving slabs to actually butt up to each other, in between I'm going to add some gravel, pea gravel, shingle type aggregate. And I just think that again will make it look quite pretty. So that's the first step into creating this bog garden. So why don't I add the stones around the sides, add some shingle, some gravel in between the paving slabs, just to give you an idea for the look that I'm going for. Well, it's a few days later and I decided to finish the path before I showed you it. And I'm giving you a bird's eye view because Mr. Quarry Gardener is on the camera up there. And I have to say a special thank you to him too, because he did help me lay all of these paving slabs. I didn't do it alone. So as you can see, we're now ready for the next stage. I've got a few more perennial weeds to remove, but it's ready for planting. But that'll be in a few weeks' time. But now I'm going to work in a very small border that I started last year, which is just at the beginning of this path, and it's a small white spring border. Now this border is 1 year old now. I planted it up this time last year. And what has been a brilliant and great success are these white hellebores. Now these particular white ones are part of the gold collection, ice and roses, and I can certainly recommend them. It was the first time I'd ever used them, and they're quite expensive, more expensive than your average hellebore, but they're so worth it. They've come back with such vigour. I can't believe the flowering. Look at the flowers on these, and they're very upright hellebores. They stand above the leaves, so you don't have to obviously cut the leaves off to actually see the actual flowers. They stand so upright. The plant itself, the leaves have not died off at all. They're very green. I've actually left the leaves on. There's no sign of disease on any of them. So I can totally recommend them. That's the Gold Collection Ice and Roses. I have planted a few other hellebores in here. A few of them haven't done as well. This one at the front, I think this one is Niger. I find that the smaller hellebores that you plant, that you sometimes use in hanging baskets and pots, do take a few years to actually establish in the ground. They're not as quick to establish as these larger, very strong plants, these ice and roses. But I'm totally impressed with them. So what I've got today is a few more little white plants just to add in a few empty spots, no more hellebores, primulas and some crocuses. So let me get those and I'll show you what they are. So I've got several potted plants to add to this spring border, and they're all bulbs. The first one is Narcissi, and it's Pueblo, and it's a lovely white Narcissi, about 16 inches in height. Flowers April time. So I'm going to add a few pots of those around the back of this border, just to give it a bit of height at the back. Now you may ask, why am I buying potted bulbs? In my defence, I didn't want to disturb the ground in the autumn time to add bulbs. I couldn't quite work out where all the cyclamen and the aconites and the snowdrops were, and this border is pretty much full of snowdrops. So I thought, right, in the spring I'll just buy a potted plant full of bulbs. What I should have done was, and it's the cheaper way to do it, is to actually buy a bag of bulbs and actually pot them up yourself. Didn't quite work that one out, don't know why, but never mind. So that's the first one, it's a Narcissi. The second one again is another white flowering bulb, and this is Scilla, and this is Siberica Alba. So I'm going to add those dotted around here and there. I've got 2 pots of those. That one was £2.99, £3 in UK currency. In US that would be around about $2.50 to $3. This one here, the Narcissi, that was £1.99 or £2 in UK currency. That's for about 6 bulbs in there. That equates to around about $1.50, something like that. Not quite sure of the exchange rate. And lastly, I have a crocus, which is Jeanne d'Arc. Not quite sure how you pronounce that. Again, that was £3 in UK currency, around about $2.50 to $3. So I'm going to add those around. What I have got also are some primroses rather. These are Elle. It's a lovely double flower white primroses. Now I've actually already added these last year into this border, and they've all come through the winter. They've just started to flower, so they're tried and tested for me, so I'm going to add some of those as well. Trying to actually extend the flowering period for this spring border, because this, once it turns into sort of early summer, will be under deep shade, and it's very difficult to get plants to grow in those circumstances. So what I've got in also are some ferns, which will pop through. Dryopteris, hartstongue fern, all British native ferns. And also I have a grass around the edge. Liriope, that's it, Liriope Munro White is what I've got round the edge. A lot of people are a bit fearful of using that, but it's a very good grass to grow in very difficult conditions. Didn't do too well when I planted it. It hasn't done too well since I planted it last year. I did have 3 potted plants and I actually split them. So that's possibly why. They're actually still surviving and they've started to grow, but it's obviously going to take a few years to actually have something of substance there. But never mind. So let me add these lovely primroses, these Elle primroses, around and about, and I'll show you what they look like at the end. So I'm just adding the last of the primroses around this area. There's not an awful lot in this section here. Pretty much a lot of tree roots, so it's hard to get actually any plants into the ground, but I'm succeeding so far. But that's it for today. And what I'll try and do is bring you back, must get better at this, bring you back in a few weeks' time, a couple of weeks, to show you everything in full bloom. That will be all of the snowdrops and hopefully all of these primroses too. We'll try and get better at doing that. I wasn't very good at that last year, bringing you back to show you how things progress through the year. But that's it. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye for now.